Howdy, folks. Welcome to this episode of the Main Topic Podcast. Today I'm joined by
Mr. Evan Bradford.
Alrighty, Mr. Bradford. Now tell me a little bit about yourself. What are you involved at here at Wallace?
Well, I'm a fine and performing arts major, or really a music major, music education major, but I'm part of the fine and performing arts over there at the Burroughs Center, and I'm in the jazz band, concert band, choir, vocal jazz, let's see, percussion ensemble, and I think that's it.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, that's definitely a lot to wrap your head around. So if you had to choose, and this is probably a tough question, but if you had to choose, which do you think you enjoy the most? And I bet it's close.
It is really close. This is my first year doing any of the vocal stuff. There's still growing on me. I'm a tuba player in the concert band, and I like being a tuba player. It's a new instrument. I only picked it up my junior year of high school. So here I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll play it in concert band. We needed tuba last year, but probably jazz band, just because I'm the drummer. Playing the drums is pretty awesome, and you get to be wild and rambunctious as long as, Mr. Burks doesn't kill me for being wild and rambunctious too much. But just playing drums is just the best. It's a lot of fun. Probably what I'd say is jazz band, but a close second with concert band, because I'm getting to learn the tuba a little bit more in a more professional setting.
And then what about that process for joining the jazz band? Was it like a tryout, I'm guessing,
I have a funny story of how I joined jazz band.
Let's hear it.
I was not going to do college at all. I was going to come and do like a program here, maybe do like my CDLs and go be like a tour bus driver. Because I've always liked performing and I've always liked doing stuff like that. But I was like, man, getting a performance degree probably isn't the best idea. So I was like, hey, let's go get a CDL. And so I really didn't sign up for college. I mean, I signed up to come to Wallace and got accepted. And so 2 weeks before jazz camp, which is kind of like the audition process, I came into Mr. Burks' office. It's like, hey, I play drums and tuba. Do you have any open positions? He's like, well, no one's trying out for drums so far in jazz band. I've never played jazz drums before. It's up to that point. Like, I knew drum kit stuff, but I'd never played jazz drums. So I went in. I was scared to death. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can play the jazz drums. And so I went and I watched the movie Whiplash. So anyone who knows the movie Whiplash, it's like the biggest fear for a drummer. So I was watching that, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to die tomorrow. It's not that way. Like, if you come to Wallace and you want to be in the jazz band, do it. It is the most fun. It's nothing like the movie Whiplash. Mr. Burks really educates you in the jazz field and different drummers. We've been talking about different drummers all my career here at Wallace, of just different guys, what they did. And it's a really good education along with learning how to actually do what I'm doing. I had taught a band camp, and I was like, hey, it'd be fun to, teach music. And my mom was like, well, you need a degree to do that. So I already was accepted at Wallace, and I was like, well, let's go see what they have in the music program here. So that's what I did. And Mr. Burks accepted me, and now I'm playing drums in the jazz band.
Oh yeah, that's amazing, right? That's like it's like some divine intervention.
Yeah,
stuff
for
right
real,
there,
for
right?
real, for real. Yeah, man.
Now, what about, so you were talking about how you eventually want to teach music. So what are your plans after you finish your tenure here at Wallace?
So after I'm done here, I'm probably going to go to UAB. I've been talking to UAB's directors and seeing kind of testing the waters there. I've got a lot of friends that are in the marching band there. One of my best friends plays in the drum line there. I have some good friends from middle school because I transferred from middle school to high school. So a lot of my middle school friends, their band directors from UAB, and a lot of them went to UAB. It's probably where I'm going to transfer. I've talked to all the directors there, and they seem really interested in kind of my story and how I became a music major.
What about, I guess, more of like a long-term thing? So you want to teach music eventually? Is there any school you're looking at to teach?
I mean, I would like to be a high school band director, probably. College has been a lot of fun. You get a big difference of, you have these fast track students who are still in high school. We have, I think, 2 fast track students in the jazz band, and it's really cool to see like the level of where they're progressing at versus where I was as a junior and senior in high school. It gives an opportunity to those who maybe don't have that to come in and get a full college music education, but you also have people like me who did have a good high school education and know kind of what they're doing. And so you've got that combination of just different people and different bands, where in a 4-year, it's the elite of the elites in a 4-year program. But here at Wallace, that's why I love the music program, is there's so many backgrounds. So that would be pretty cool to teach rather high school / maybe a community college. I don't know if I'd want to do university. That might not be in my wheelhouse. I've also tested the waters of being a music producer and doing stuff in the studio, but those jobs are really hard to get. You've got to really know the right kind of people.
And then, so you say you're majoring in music.
Yeah.
So you're getting those prerequisites for that out of the way here.
Right.
So what kind of classes are you taking here?
We do music theory, and I've had Dr. Justin Robinson and Miss Tiffany Richter. They're my two theory teachers that I've had. And then I have Miss Jenny Stone. She does teach piano lab, and you should take piano lessons if you want to here. But she does music theory lab, and it is where we kind of apply the music that we're learning in theory. We're doing a lot of things like solfege, which is like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and how that fits into a sheet of music and how it fits into a piece and how we use that to kind of create a melody line and to hear how to write the music and apply it whenever we're listening or playing our instruments, which is a really cool class that I never thought I would use when I first got into it, but now I'm like, this is probably the most useful class. And we also have other stuff like music appreciation, which I think everyone has to take a music appreciation at least once here. But for music, that's like one of our main courses we have to take. And we also have to be in an ensemble, so that's why I'm doing 5, because I can't just pick one, you know. Then we also do lessons, and I'm taking tuba lessons because, like I said, I only started my junior year, and Dr. Robinson has really just kind of helped take me under his wing. He was a DCI brass player, so like I'm getting trained by some of the best here, and I really enjoy it, and I've really seen a lot of progress in my playing.
So like you say, junior year, you pick up the tuba, and then you had some background in percussion.
Right,
That.
yeah. I was a drummer all throughout from 6th grade to my 10th grade year, and then I tried out for drum major. I was like, you know, drum major's cool. It was always kind of a dream for me, so I became drum major. We had 30 percussionists in our high school band. My band director walked up to me. He was like, hey, we have like 30 people playing drums. We don't need that many people. You need a tuba player because we only had like 4 or 5, and so the balance was a little off. So I picked up the tuba, and he was like, here's what I need you to do. Go and learn these scales. I'd never played brass before, so he really helped me in learning that. And it took me from Christmas to April to learn kind of that process of how to learn the tuba. It was a really cool process to switch from something so different with using more so your hands to now using your face and your cheeks and your lips in playing instruments.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot. And you're obviously very musically inclined to be able to do something
I've definitely been blessed in my musical talent, I will say that. I'm a church pianist, and I do a lot of stuff at church. The little old ladies at church, they'll run to me, it's like, oh, you're so talented. I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm blessed. Because there's sometimes that I'm playing something, and I'm just like, how did I do that? And it's like, I didn't do it. The Lord did that. I haven't been as faithful as I should, but I am part of the campus ministries too. Just throwing that out there. Go join campus ministries if y'all are into that.
So you're talking about going into marching band at UAB?
Yeah, I'm thinking about joining the Marching Blazers. I hope they don't find my digital footprint by this. But yeah, I only marched 1 year in high school because I was in front ensemble my first year. I was playing bass guitar. I really didn't know much about marching. And so put on the front ensemble. He needed a bass guitarist. I knew how to play the bass. And then my second year was when the pandemic hit, and we had a short and condensed set, but I finally made drumline. I was playing bottom bass, so the biggest bass drum, I think it was like 32-inch bass drum. It was massive, and really went on like a diet kick then. It was really healthy, and that's why I'm kind of motivated to do marching band again. It's because the healthiest I ever was when I was marching. Then I was drum major the last 2 years, so I really am excited to get back onto the marching field eventually at UAB, and hopefully if I make it there. Probably going to march tuba, and that's something I've never done, or sousaphone technically for all the music nerds out there. So,
alrighty, Evan. So now I want to know a bit more about this musical journey. So, like, how old were you when you first picked up an instrument, and what instrument was that?
So I remember my sister got this, I think it was a Yamaha keyboard.
Okay.
And it had different little like settings on it. And I remember just like stealing it out of her room one day, putting it in my room. I was like 7 years old. And there was a little thing that was when the Saints go marching in. And it was like you could like play it and play along with it. And I remember learning that. And then I was like, oh, man, I want to play this. Like, this is cool. It sounds good. And I was like, can I play this in church? And my mom was like, well, I guess it's like a gospel song. So I started playing When the Saints Go Marching In. And it was like chicken pecking one finger type deal. And then as I got older, I started picking up piano more, playing little melodies. I had a really big musical upbringing. My aunt was our church pianist at the time. I was interested in marching band. My dad announced football at Hayden. So instead of being more attracted to the football side of things, I loved the marching band and loved watching the drum majors, of course, and the drums also kind of. And so as I got older, I more so got into marching band drums. That started to interest me. I think I was around 5th grade whenever I started learning chords on piano, so I could learn chords and songs, and that reached over to guitar as I got older. And then I got into rockabilly and rock and roll, like old 50s rock and roll. Really took a fascination to Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, but more specifically Elvis. Y'all can see the sideburns and the pompadoured hair. I still love Elvis, but I started learning songs that Elvis did because they were so easy to learn. I mean, there were 3 4-chord songs that I could just pick up, songs C, F, and G, and, pick up little songs that had 3 chords, 4 chords in them. And I was like, this is so cool that I can just play these songs of these guys that I like. I had the flu one time, and I learned the song Great Balls of Fire on piano.
By Jerry
and I was
Lee
like,
Lewis,
And I was in 4th grade, and I learned Great Balls of Fire by Jerry Lee Lewis, and my mom was like, how are you playing that? And that was like the first song I remember like having like a eureka moment on piano that I could start playing something and it not sound like, little like taps on a keyboard, but actually like a full piano piece. So I credit a lot of those like old 50s guys for kind of my, not taste in music per se, but more so just my development in music, because their songs were so easy. But now looking at them as a music major, these guys were creating something that I don't think a lot of people give them credit enough for. So that's kind of where my music journey happened. And as far as like picking up an instrument, it really has never been hard to me. I remember having a music teacher. His name was Logan Pace, and he was a music major at Auburn. He was a really, really cool guy. Ended up doing like rap battles in Atlanta, which is so cool. I'm not the biggest rap fan, but like he loved it. I went over to his house. He was teaching music lessons after he got his degree, and I was like, all right, let's go see what this guy has to teach. And he was teaching me essentially what I'm learning now. And I think being taught that so young and learning music theory at such a young age has really helped me, not only now here at Wallace and in my classes, but also in an earlier aspect of life in learning music growing up. So piano and guitar and all that are a lot of my favorite instruments. But of course, now I've found a new love for the concert band instrument, the trumpet, flute, tuba, all those, the brass, the woodwinds. I'm sounding like a nerd right now, like just naming off like, but I love the sound of that now to develop more so from a rock, gospel, pop taste now into more of an orchestral, symphonic sound into my taste. So it's really cool to combine all these genres into one big melting pot of my musical existence, I guess you could say.
I definitely empathize with all that, being all over the place, off the walls with what you're listening to.
Oh, yeah. On the drive-in, it started with the Beatles, then it went to, like, Elvis, and then I think I turned around, and it was, like, John Williams stuff. So, like, the Star Wars, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, those type soundtracks. And then I think I ended it with a gospel quartet. So, like, that's, like, 4 vastly different genres all in my drive-in. And, like, even though I said I don't like rap, there are times that I listen to a lot of, like, the old school, like, the Sugar Hill Gang. Like, that stuff is really good. And the bass lines, my gosh, the bass players back in those days, like, really had some talent. That's kind of what my taste is. And so whenever I get a piece of music, a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't like this. Oh, come on. I'm like, it's a new challenge. Try to learn a different genre, especially in jazz band, the Latin pieces. Those are something that really, really, really has challenged me because I know the jazz world pretty well. I know jazz pieces and how they're formed out, and that's been something. But the first time I got a Latin piece, I looked at Mr. Burks and I was like, how do I do this? And he was like, well, just you go and you look at them. In the Latin umbrella, you've got many different genres underneath the Latin umbrella. So that's been something here at Wallace that I've really learned about in my taste in music is different types of jazz. Old me in high school liked jazz. We had just a little jazz combo. We'd play at like art shows and whichever. But really, I didn't advance my taste until I got here. So that's something I really want to credit Mr. Burks of doing is expanding my taste in music just even further. Not just jazz, but other forms of music. So that's really cool that I've learned that here at Wallace.
Yeah, a lot of variety for sure. Now, I do have an interesting question for you. What instrument do you think you'd be least familiar with? Like maybe a piccolo?
Least familiar with? Probably anything woodwind. Tuba has this pretty much same fingerings with the valves as a tuba does. Trombone's a little bit less easy, but I'd probably say any woodwind. So that's like saxophone, clarinet, flute, piccolo, stuff like that. Any of those. I could probably pick them up and at least make a sound. I'm not saying I could play a full piece on one. I feel like as a musician, when people are like, oh, I can play all these instruments, it's like, can you play them or can you play like Mary Had a Little Lamb on all of them? On the piano, I used to play like little melodies, but until you play a song like Great Balls of Fire, are you really playing that instrument? I love anyone who thinks they can play an instrument. I always encourage. You never discourage whenever someone's learning an instrument because that's how music dies, is you just discourage and discourage and discourage. And even with music taste, if you discourage these people's music taste, they're going to discourage yours too. And then that's how people just hate music in general. We want music to stay alive. We want music to stay like as something that people love because it's a universal language. So if I'm hating on your music taste, you're hating on my music taste. I'm hating on Bill's music taste down the road. we're all going to hate each other's music taste because we show disgust in each other. Anytime someone's like, oh, I like this music, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's a creative choice, but, good for you. Like, I like that you like that type of music. So I'm never big on, like, hating on people's music taste and all that. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of, like, rap, like I said earlier, but I do have aspects of where rap, like, in a basketball game, you're not going to play jazz music at a basketball game. Basketball players are not going to get hyped to that. You crank on something like some Kendrick Lamar, like, hey man, that fires me up. And like I personally love like people's different music tastes for different atmospheres.
Gotcha. Now, what I was getting at with the question about what instrument you're least familiar with is, so let's take the piccolo for example.
Okay.
So if I were to hand you a piccolo, how long do you think it would take you to be able to play a piece that would maybe be like some medium intensity or medium difficulty? And is there any piece you could think of in particular?
Probably the first piece I can think of is the song Stars and Stripes Forever, which you're actually playing in one of our concerts.
Okay.
The piccolo part in that is very iconic. Everyone knows it. I think that wouldn't be terribly hard. I'd have to learn, of course, how to hold the piccolo. Every woodwind player is about to kill me of how I think it's like this. They say it's like a reverse sub sandwich. So however you do that. And like I think it's like just a scale. So it wouldn't be terribly hard. You just have to learn like one scale off of it. I think it's like the C scale. I'm not even sure. So just learning that and learning the fingerings off of that, because you can learn how to make a sound out of it and how to play the individual notes. But really, music comes out of the feel of it. So, like, if I were to play it, like, really sloppy, you'd hear it and you'd be like, oh, yeah, good job. So it's more so the feeling behind it. And I think that's something that's really hard for musicians, even myself, is just to find the feeling in a piece. So, and that's more so, they told me whenever I said I was interviewing, they're like, you're going to nerd out. And I was like, yeah, it's going to happen. It just happens. So, but yeah, I would say it'd take me probably about, I'd say 2 months to fully learn something that hard on a different instrument. 2 months to fully like learn a piece. Because I mean, that's what I've done with stuff like tuba. That I'm taking pieces that are somewhat hard, and Dr. Robinson really does a great job with just guiding. So, and that's more so where I would worry about that. In saying 2 months, I'd be going to Mr. Burks every day because he's our woodwind professor as well. Be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And there's been a lot of people over at the music building. We have one girl, Hallie Scott. She's into my music theory class. She has learned clarinet, flute, piccolo, and saxophone within her time at Wallace. And that's like really awesome that she's gotten that experience here. So that's something to be really proud about. So yeah, definitely I could probably do that. Saying that though, like on a flute, that would be pretty hard. I could probably do it on any instrument, but the flute's a little bit hard. So probably about 2 to 3 months, I think, if I just worked on it every day. But I'm a big procrastinator, so let's say 6 months just to be fair.
Okay. Now, I know you mentioned your mom earlier as having, some connection to music. So would you say that, this musical ability, this talent runs in your family?
I would say so. A lot of times they say like, oh, he's more talented than us. He's more talented than us. My family loves music in general. There's not a day that goes by in our house that they're, the record player ain't going. There ain't a CD going in the house. No one's got their phone on Spotify or anything like that. My mom actually was going to be a music major here at Wallace, and I think was here for like 3 semesters and did that, and was here with a guy named Eric Dover who ended up playing guitar in it was like Slash's Snake Pit, and that Slash who played with Guns N' Roses and all that. And also like I think Jimmy Westbrook of Little Big Town was here. So like that's really cool that like she was here at a time where like famous people were getting their music degrees here. A lot of times people want to like discredit, it's like, oh, this is just a stepping point, but like there was big guys who went to school here who have ended up like being platinum gold record winner. Mom discredits herself a lot. Oh no, you're the best musician in the family. But truthfully, I mean, as a kid growing up in church, she would sing harmony, and that's where I learned a lot of my just feeling for harmony and where I can hear it is because just so much as a kid growing up, I could hear it naturally. My aunt was a piano player in church. My dad has told me I have a great grandmother who was a church pianist and like would tour around in like the early 1800s, which is really really cool that I have that family connection. I do have another like family connection as far as like where it runs through the family. I had an aunt growing up and she had Down syndrome. She lived with us because we took care of her and all that. She was a big fan of Elvis. So growing up, I would sit and watch. She had this like one of those old 90s televisions in her room, and we would pop in a DVD of Elvis on like the Ed Sullivan Show or Elvis in Vegas. And it was just the coolest thing because I'd watch this dude and I'm like, wow. Like, this guy's wild. Because, I mean, to a 3-year-old, watching a guy, just going nuts like that. I mean, that's an eye-catching thing. And even today, I'll show kids, I'm like, hey, look at this guy. And like, it's Elvis in the 70s in Vegas. And he's like going nuts and his hair is flying everywhere. And his like the fringe on his jumpsuit's just flying. And the little kids are like, whoa. And so it's kind of cool to like see. I wasn't the only kid who like found that like kind of appealing. My dad was a big country music fan, so I have that big country music connection to a lot of guys. Going down the road in his truck, we listen to country music. That's kind of a me and dad thing. It's not so much people in my family are musicians so much as I was just raised up in a big musical atmosphere. And I credit that a lot to my church, growing up in church, and as well as growing up just with a family and with like my aunt that had Down syndrome, where she would expose me to guys like Elvis that, you know, otherwise she not been in my life that I would have never known about. And I credit a lot that to my family, and I thank them if they watch this for letting me know about music and all that growing up as a kid.
Yeah, it all sounds great. And obviously, you know, the family connections, family ties, that's always a huge thing. I grew up in church too, so of course, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot of music
in
church. My sister actually was one that ended up, you know, pursuing music. So she's a flautist. So,
wow,
you know,
yeah. I got you.
Obviously not something I could do.
My mom was also a flute player, so I think it's just the flute players in the families just have a way of just exposing music to you, you know. So she gave birth to a drummer. Who would have thought? Even my family even sings like a little gospel quartet here and there. We won't do it like big time, but I'll sing the bass part, and that's something I've really liked. And that's why I joined choir here, was because I've grown up with that church upbringing. So now I get to like sing bass in the choir, and I'm like, I've been doing this all my life as a kid, and now I'm just getting more advanced in that. So that's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very, very cool. Now, along the lines of talking about stuff that's really, really cool and out there, it has come to my knowledge that you are an Elvis impersonator.
I am. That's something people can just catch up on me because of my sideburns.
Yes.
I've been an Elvis fan, like I say, as long as I can remember. But I actually got started doing that whenever I was, I think, my 9th grade year. Yeah, it would have been December of my 9th grade year. We were doing a talent show at my school. I already liked Elvis. We'd visited Graceland after my aunt had passed away. The aunt that had Down syndrome, she had passed away. We went to a trip to Graceland in her memory, you know, just kind of like memorialize her instead of, you know, being doom and gloom, you know, let's do something happy. So we went and visited Graceland, and I remember going there, and there's a little picture of me, and I am in this like ugly like shirt, and like I got on like these plaid breeches on, like it was like the worst outfit in the world, but I'm sitting in this like little like windowsill that had a picture of Elvis in it. And I remember like looking back at that picture, I'm like, that's the day that kid became an Elvis fan. Because you look a year later, and I've started growing the pompadour, growing out my sideburns. I'm starting to wear more collared shirts and kind of popping my collar up and all that. And I was like, that's whenever I became a big Elvis fan. So I kind of toned that down as I got older and, you know, started realizing that dressing up like Elvis every day of my life, people would make fun of me and all that. So, but I mean, as a 5th grader, I thought it was the coolest thing on earth. But I remember my 9th grade year, I just transferred to Hayden, and I had a friend that we were in marching band together, and he was like, hey, you should go do an Elvis impersonation in the talent show. Because I'd joke around and I'd do them, you know, don't be cruel, you know, sitting in the classrooms. And I was like, no, man, everyone's going to laugh at me. So we had about 800 students at the time sign up for the talent show, and I did the song Blue Christmas.
Okay.
And everyone was filming this. I mean, everyone and their brother was filming this. And so I walk out there, 800 people, and they're just screaming. I couldn't even hear the music. I'm pretty sure I was off key doing it, but everyone was screaming. I was like, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is really cool that people like thought it was really funny. I didn't care if they were making fun of me. I don't believe in stage fright. I don't have it. I don't know how people do have stage fright. I'm just like, I don't care if people laughing at me, they should get up here. You know, like that. I've never been like a huge guy of like, oh no, I have stage fright. Oh no, I'm scared to be up here. Yes. I walked out there, 800 people that I didn't know, and had a lot of fun. Someone got a video of that. A local church did. They were like, hey, would you like to come to our Valentine's banquet? And so I was like, I guess. And, you know, and so here I am, and like people just start seeing these videos of me doing this, and I've been doing it now for 6-7 years of doing this.
Yes.
And like I do nursing homes, and that's always a lot of fun because these are the older people who love Elvis, and I even do it with the jazz bands sometimes, and that's kind of where I got it around here, where I became like the Wallace Elvis. We were doing the Veterans Day concert last year. Mr. Burks had seen a video of me doing an Elvis impersonation. He was like, I didn't know you did that. And I was like, well, yes sir. He's like, here, and he pulls out American Trilogy, which is that epic Elvis ballad that everyone knows. We did it, and I was like, this is going to be really ambitious. And I remember us doing it at the concert, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Dr. Karlovic, she actually came that night and like loved it and invited me to do, when all the college presidents, I forget what that's called, but she called it like the presidential dinner that they have. She got the Cleghorn kids and their quartet. They are fantastic. I remember whenever we hit the first note off, we did Blue Suede Shoes that night. Reese Barksdale, our guitarist, he's also the guitarist in the jazz band. I looked over at him, and all these like professional college presidents were all just like clapping their hands, like having the time of their life. I looked over at Reese after the song was done, and I was like, what is life anymore? Like, honestly, I remember being like, what is this? Like, how did I go from being a kid who didn't even know if he wanted to do college, and now here I am in front of all of the community college presidents in the state of Alabama, performing Blue Suede Shoes in front of him. Elvis has gotten me a lot, and like, truthfully, if Elvis is still alive, like the tabloids say, I would love to go up to him and be like, thank you for all that you've done for me, Elvis. Like, dude has like taking me to places I never thought I'd be. Like, I'm performing in different states and getting paid to do it, all because of a dumb dare that me and a friend had. So I really find that kind of cool. It's really cool to do Elvis with a live band. It really is. It's just a cool energy, and it's helped me out a lot in just my career path in what I want to do. As far as the Elvis thing goes, I hate saying this because I feel like I'm bragging, but I do Graceland every year. We do Elvis Week, and Reese, my guitarist here at Wallace, and a friend of ours, we went up there and did a 3-piece band like Elvis originally did in the early 50s. So it was really cool little moment to get to do that. Shout out to Reese, man. He's a cool guy. Greatest guitarist I know, truthfully. He is an amazing guitarist. The jazz band is just some great people. Everyone's like, Evan, good job, Evan, good job. I'm like, shoot, I'm just singing. Like, I'm just doing the vocals. What's making me sound good is this band behind me. I love to give the band credit because, truthfully, without them, I'm just a guy with a karaoke machine. You know, a guy with sideburns at a karaoke machine. So they truthfully help the emotion in the crowd. We did the song "If I Can Dream" last year at an event, and everyone was just loving it and raving over it. But I was like, man, y'all wouldn't have loved this as much had the band not been here. If I'd have just done this to a karaoke track, y'all would have been like, yeah, that was good. But like the band just gives that thrill and the emotion of it. So shout out to the jazz band. Love you guys. If y'all are watching this, love every single one of them. I think there's 20 of us.
Interestingly enough, you need to know this because you're an Elvis impersonator. I'm actually related to the King.
What?
I am.
Dude.
So, you know.
Wow.
And on behalf of the King, I thank you for your patronage.
Yes. Man, that's epic. That's epic.
Means a lot, right?
That's epic, dude. Like, I've met so many people who are like kin to Elvis, and I'm like, I've done like the ancestry stuff, and it's like, I'm like,
you can't get there.
9th cousins. Like, that's the most I'm at, is like 9th cousins to Elvis.
I am probably about as kin as you are, but I think just slightly closer. I believe my Elvis lineage is on my dad's side.
Okay.
And my grandmother's third cousin twice removed.
About the closest Elvis connection I have, I want to say my grandma's uncle did the gates at Graceland. That's probably the closest connection I've got, other than actually being an impersonator and performing at Graceland. I go and see a lot of Southern Gospel quartets, and that's something that I really am fascinated with. Elvis as well loved gospel quartets.
Yes.
And I met this lady last week through a podcast that I do. Actually, this isn't my first podcast experience.
Probably so you're cheating on your other
I'm not. Sorry to my other podcast. I do that a lot, truthfully. But I'm also in a podcast. It's called Southern Gospel Forward, and we interview young people in the Southern Gospel music genre. Because consistently, if I were to talk about Southern Gospel to people in the area, especially here on campus, I guarantee you maybe 30% of the people would know what I'm even talking about or could name one quartet. I actually think there's an alumni that graduated within the past year who is a part of a gospel quartet called Bama Bluegrass. I think Ivy Hale is her name. She came to Wallace, and like I remember like seeing her. I was like, oh my gosh, I know you from being in a Southern Gospel quartet. So yeah, shout out to my other podcast on this podcast. But I'm kind of the goofy guy on that podcast. I do a lot of the dumb questions. Like one of my favorite ones to ask, because we interview artists and young people who are on buses a lot. I even traveled on a bus my senior year of high school and sang in a quartet. And I always remember asking them what's their favorite road trip snack. And I think this would be cool because you've probably been on a vacation or you've been on the road before. Yes. I'm going to do it on this podcast. Okay, what's your favorite road trip snack, man?
Well, first off, I want to say I'm really appreciative of you asking the host a question.
Right, yeah. I feel like you deserve a break at times, you know?
Let's see. So favorite road trip snack for me. I went on a mission trip recently, and I've really fallen in love with potato skins lately.
Potatoes,
Like
okay.
the TGIF.
The
potato
TGIF.
skin, you know,
Yeah. Man, I respect that. That's a good choice right there. I really like that. So it's cool to get to give the host a question, man. Y'all need to do that for an episode. Like, do that for an episode. Like, you get the questions.
I'm glad we both have a hunka burning love for
There
potato
we go.
skins. Yes, I was looking for the
Elvis reference. Looking for it. There it is. Yeah. As far as Fine and Performing Arts, you can go find that on the Fine and Performing Arts little tab on the website. Look at all those dates again. Put them in your calendar. These are all great family events. Everyone loves just live music, and that's pretty much everything here has live music, live performances. So y'all please come out to the Fine and Performing Art events because we would love to see you. We love a good crowd. And if you're interested in joining Fine and Performing Arts, you don't even have to be a music major. If you want to come and join like concert band next semester, please contact Dr. Robinson. Or if you want to join concert choir, please contact Miss Richter. We're always looking for new people. Now, stuff like singers and jazz band, you have to get on an audition list. But for stuff like a concert band, as long as you know your instrument, come on. We're looking for great people to come join concert band choir. As long as you know what you're doing, come on ahead. Thank you all for letting me be on the podcast, guys. And this has been an awesome interview.
Well, thank you, Evan. I'm really happy that you were, here to join us. Obviously, massive personality makes my job a lot easier, But yeah, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Main Topic Podcast.
All right,
and I'm very excited to keep up with your journey, especially in the Elvis department.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, y'all just follow me on Instagram. That's where I post all my Elvis stuff. So y'all can see me there. And thank y'all so much. To end this episode, go Lions.
Alrighty, folks. Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of the Wallace State Main Topic Podcast. I'm Justin Alvey, and I wanted to take a minute to thank our audio and video editors, Arleth Flores and Reagan Armstrong, as well as our graphic designer, Caitlin Hicks, and the communications and marketing department here at Wallace for making the Main Topic possible.